Hello and welcome to The Impact here in CTV, a show that takes you to your community to bring stories and experiences of people whose lives have been impacted by different organizations. And today we'll be talking about kidney failure or kidney disease. In the lingua franca of many young people today, we often joke about selling kidneys because of maybe the tough economic situation to be able to earn a living. But in our conversation today, you'll find out that your kidneys are actually very important, and you need to pay close attention to them in how you take care of them, so that because they play a very vital role in your health and well-being. And treatment of, in case something happens to your kidneys, is not very cheap, as you will soon find out. Today we're going to be meeting someone called Anita, who will be sharing with us her story. A story of a journey that was cut short as she was trying to study because something happened to her kidneys. And later on, we'll be discussing understanding what causes kidney failure and what you can do to prevent kidney failure from happening to you. We have a very interesting panel of guests who are here with us already, and we cannot wait to meet them. But first, let's hear Anita's story.
Her mother died while she was still very young. Her father abandoned her after he married another woman. Her maternal grandmother, a peasant from Bushenyi district, decided to raise her with the hope of seeing a great young lady who would make everyone proud. Anita Twanjire grew up a joyful young girl, her grandmother's darling. Growing up from Bushenyi, she witnessed several injustices in her community, and she wished she had a voice to stop them. Cases of rape, defilement, gender-based violence, land grabbing made her pray that she becomes a lawyer in future. Having toiled through school with her peasant grandmother, Twanjire had passed her senior 6 examinations and was admitted at Pentecostal University in Fort Potro to study her dream course, law.
The condition started in 2014. I was in my senior 6 vacation. It came slowly as allergy, as any other body reaction. I thought it was allergy. Even at home, we thought it was allergy. So I started treating allergy.
Allergy, what would happen?
I would react to some food, like meat. I would get body swellings, the foot, and my eyes would swell, my face would swell, my legs would swell, and it ended up like swelling the whole body. Yes.
While at school, were you in boarding or?
No, I was at home by that time. I was in the vacation. I was just home. Yes, in Bushenyi, because I come from Bushenyi. Yes. So, and we would go for treatment, like treat allergy. I would go to the nearest place. So I would just get treated. We treat allergies, but the thing could not heal. I actually joined university in 15.
Which university was that?
I joined Uganda Pentecostal University, main campus, Fort Portal, for a bachelor's of legal law. So they admitted me. At that time it calmed down. Like it calmed down, and I got admitted as any other student. I started studying really well. Then I finished 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year.
How many years was the course supposed
4 years. So in my 3rd year, it striked, and this time it came like the worst. All the signs of kidney failure came.
Had you known that it was kidney failure?
I didn't know by that time, of course. I didn't know until the doctors discovered it. The swelling, general body weakness, anemia, like the body could need blood every time. Because the kidneys, the moment they fail, it could not make that blood. So the body needed blood until I got a friend in 2018. And a friend is a doctor, and he was like, let's do a kidney test. So
had you now stopped schooling to concentrate on treatment?
No, of course I was home. was home for medication, I would call my guardian all the time. I'm sick, my grandmother, I'm sick, and she was like, come home. I came home. After reaching home, they took me to those hospitals that were near my home. KIU Teaching Hospital, the Shaka Adventist, and they could not find out the problem, the real problem. We even went spiritual, going to pray, going to some people. We asked what was really happening in my life. So my grandmother was so attached. It was like, what is happening to my young girl? And she had all the hopes in me. Very many times she prayed if I would really come out as a big girl, as a great woman.
Who are your parents, biological parents?
My mother died when I was in primary 5. So I have a dad, and my dad remarried. Yes, so my dad is there with another family and some other children.
She saw herself giving a voice to the voiceless, reaching high offices on behalf of the vulnerable, seeking justice on behalf of the oppressed, and finally having justice for those in need. But alas, this was all a dream. And as we speak now, her dreams seem to be shattered. As a young adult, she moved from a world of student life, hopes and dreams into a new world, one that was riddled with uncertainty, long-term hospitalization, ungodly bloating, and grueling sessions of dialysis. She later traveled to Mulago National Referral Hospital, and several tests were conducted to assess what exactly was wrong with her body. The results showed that she had kidney failure.
So 2018.
2018 is when my friend is a doctor. I said, Anita, we need to do the kidney test. Like he saw, like those are the signs of kidney failure. We came up to Mulago, and we had to look for a doctor, a nephrologist, kidney doctor. And we got Dr. Simon Peter Eyoku. The moment he saw me like this,
Before even doing the test?
before even they had just taken the blood to the lab, was like, these are real signs of a kidney failure. My dear, I broke down. I saw Mulago, the whole hill was like falling on me, and I could not cry and laugh at the same time. I was there. I remember it was towards 1 p.m. But I saw darkness covering me in the whole hill of Mulago. The whole world looked like a matchbox for me. Because I looked at myself, I was like, poor me, who will really take care of me, who will take care of these bills? Only the tests were for 670, testing the general body test that they made. So I was like, my grandmother was able to get this small money. Now how will I survive? I really need a transplant or dialysis.
Had you read about how the kidney failure could affect you? Had you known what it really means?
No, me, I used to see those things in movies. So I imagined what I used to see, and I was like, oh my God, what will really happen to me?
Yeah.
Yes. No sooner had the doctor finished talking to us, then the results came back. After coming back, they were very bad. They were like, for him, it was like, these are not good results. The kidney had failed, like failing completely.
According to World Health Organization, the kidneys are a pair of organs located in the region of your lower back. One kidney is on each side of your spine. Your kidneys filter your blood and remove toxins from your body. These toxins go to your bladder and are eliminated when you urinate.
The whole body was swollen. My legs were swelling. I was very weak. I had difficulty breathing. I could not breathe very well. I could not eat. I had no appetite. Even I had rash on my skin. The skin had rash because of the accumulation of the wastes inside.
Yes.
So, doctor told us that you people, since you're a young girl, you need 2 options. You have 2 options actually. One is to go and you get a kidney transplant in India. Kidney transplant, which will cost you 200 to 300 million Ugandan shillings. or to start dialysis. And he explained that it's a treatment therapy where they get blood out of my body, they remove all the toxins in the blood, then they let it come back to my body.
Hey! Oh, I was actually trying to call you.
Just seeing you.
Hi, how?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
How was your journey?
It was fair. I'm ready for my session, for my dialysis session.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So this is how you, every time you're coming, this is how you did?
Yes,
Oh,
my mat,
very
my pillow,
interesting.
my bedding, bag.
Don't you, are you not feeling cold?
Not so much. This is hot. Yes.
Okay. So did you have to buy any medicines or anything? Did you?
Yes, the medicines that I buy every day or what you use up, I've already bought. Already got what to eat. So I'm going up to wait for the nurses to come and open.
Okay. So is it obvious that the doctors know that you're coming on these days?
Yes, they know. They know that I'm in the first shift of Thursday morning and first shift of Monday morning. So they know. Yeah.
Okay. I wish you well.
Sometimes I come earlier, book, then go back home. Then I come at this time. I always come at this time.
Ah. Okay. So in that first shift, how many are you normally?
We always 27 first shift, then another shift, then another shift. Sometimes do 3 to 4.
So what time do you expect the session to start?
The session takes 4 hours. So depending on the time the first shift specialists will enter. So we might enter at 4 a.m. in the morning. So we'll be leaving the machine at 7 or 7:30 or 8. Yes.
Okay. So by 8 you'll be out of this place.
Yes. Depending on the successful of the session. Sometimes I might get a fever, then I wait. I'm told to rest. Sometimes flu, sometimes cough, sometimes vomiting. Effects of the dialysis, because this is an artificial thing. So sometimes the body is not ready for it. So there are effects sometimes, but when they are not there and it's successful, which I always pray for, I leave here by 8 to 9.
Okay.
Yes.
So what effects do you normally get?
Yeah, shivering, a lot of sweating, sometimes vomiting, yeah, restlessness, yes.
Okay. I can only wish you the best tomorrow. And yes, of course, we shall be together.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, have a good night.
Kidney failure occurs when your kidneys lose their ability to sufficiently filter waste from your blood. According to National Kidney Foundation, 10% of the population worldwide is affected by chronic kidney disease, and millions die each year because they do not have access to affordable treatment.
Hi, Anita.
Yes, hi.
How was your night?
Tonight was fair. It wasn't all that successful like other nights, because I don't know what I reacted to, but I had a lot of pain. I vomited, and now they cooled me down. They put a lot of medicine, and now I'm feeling much better. I can finish my session. But I was almost giving up. Like sometimes we finish 4 to 5 hours, but around 3 hours I couldn't. I screamed and told the nurse to first remove me. But now I've cooled down, and they've given me medicine, so I can finish and go. Yes, you helped me cover me. I was feeling a lot of heat, but now it has come down.
You want me to cover the entire body? Or
Yeah, just cover the legs. That's okay.
So why do you think he reacted that way the night?
Yeah, I felt ulcer pain, so I think I didn't eat enough food, because with this machine you need to be full, like the stomach should be full. So after last night I ate cakes, 2, then and juice. So I didn't eat supper. That's something that has affected me. Ulcers were too much and I really couldn't hold. Yeah.
Okay. So right now, do you feel anything going on in your body, like this kind of this blood movement? Do you,
Yes,
what do
you feel.
inside?
It's not painful, but you feel something going and coming back to the body. You really have to feel it, but it's not painful. The hospital, every session they require 60,000.
Okay.
Every time you go there. That's the hospital money. Then you need medicine. You need erythropoietin for the HB. That one is 120. And you need some other medicine. But these days, the government has provided heparin, which was at 20,000. So like every session, you need 200,000.
So every time you go to that hospital, you need
Yes.
200,000.
Yes.
Okay.
To do a session, have some transport, have something to eat on the machine, buy the fistula needle, buy gauze. Yeah, those things that they always need from us. Yes. So you can imagine what I was imagining at that time.
I'm also failing to imagine it. I didn't understand that explanation.
It's a process whereby they put you on the machine, on an artificial machine, and it works like an artificial kidney. It removes those skins and brings back the clean blood back to your body. Yes. So it was like you have to do that 3 or 4 times in a week, so that the body will stabilize. Because it couldn't work on these wastes, they had accumulated fluid. I could not pass out to urine. So that was like dialysis was the only thing now to help me. Yes, and I opted. I was like, for a transplant, will I manage? I need a donor. I need a donor, somebody to donate to me the kidney. Who was not there at that time. Yet I was dying. I was seeing life was really moving out of me. I was really dying on that day. I just said if dialysis could be possible. Now the bad news came in, like dialysis is only in Kampala hospitals.
Yes.
You cannot do dialysis in Western Uganda, yet I was just a village girl from Bushenyi. So it was like the hospitals that help you do dialysis are those places in Kampala. And he gave us like five names of the hospitals. Yes. So he was like, you have to shift for your entire life, shift from Bushenyi, come where? To Kampala and start dialysis.
So at that point, you had already left school.
At that point, I was home, but my things at school, of course, were still there. So I called my people. I called my grandmother and my uncles. And this is what has happened. And we needed money. We needed around 5 million to start dialysis. Taking me back, the condition worsened in 2 days, and that bring me with an ambulance from Bushenyi up to Chirudu National Referral Hospital in an ambulance, and we paid 1 million, I remember, because Mzee had announced a lockdown.
Why her? Was the question she asked herself and God over and over again. She knew that there would be no quick reply to her question, no simple answer as to why at her 26-year-old age body was being poisoned by the blood running through her veins. She had to abandon school, shift from Bushenyi and rent in Kampala, near Chirudu National Referral Hospital, to get easy access to dialysis. For now, she entirely depends on friends and well-wishers to get money for the weekly sessions, rent, and upkeep.
So they welcomed me, and I had all the results I had done with Mlago. So they said, okay, they welcomed me very well. The doctors were there, the nurses were there, and they're like, this patient belongs to level 5 for kidney failures. So I was admitted for 1 week as they were trying to calm down the pain and the condition, because the body was still swollen. They could not get even where to prick, just a simple cannula. So they had to first try to help me reduce the fluid in the whole body, urinate, even tap to the water, tap to the fluid direct from my abdomen. Yeah. So after 1 week, I stabilized. Now the whole issue was like, where do I stay? And I had to live near the hospital. so that I can access the houses, maybe come back home, and when I'm not very that tired. So now going to look for a house to rent. Yes, and I rented. So they were like, well, we look at the house, we need a neat house, a clean house also, because infections, like I thought I was open, anything could attack at that time. Yeah, so we had to look for a house, we paid rent, and I shifted like any other person, starting this new life that I live. Yes, after 3 months, I started getting infections, and the doctors were like, it is this catheter that causes what? Infections. So I had to do a fistula, a surgery for the vein. So I had to do a fistula, went to Mulago, so the surgeon, a vascular surgeon, and we put this fistula in. It is there, it is even vibrating.
So someone would want to know what is this exactly when you say fistula?
What is it? They join my veins so that they always click here and connect on the machine.
Okay, so is this something that they placed in your body? Why?
Yes.
You're saying it is vibrating?
Yes.
Is it like a machine? Is it like what?
It's like a vein, an artificial vein.
Does it have any side effect on you? Like
like this hand, I don't use it for most of the things. Lifting, I don't use it, it is there. And it doesn't get any plick. Any other plick, we don't plick here, we plick only this hand. So I find myself, all the injections are on this hand.
And then in terms of the cost, what would be your suggestion to the government? What should
if it can be free to government hospitals like Mulago and Chiludu, if it's free, then we'll really feel so much relieved from this pain, because we need medicine plus dialysis.
What would be your appeal to someone who is seeing you right now?
Maybe someone is to help me in any way he can. Yes, according to my bill, if someone can afford to help me in any way.
So what else can government do?
Yeah, people need awareness. People need to know that kidney disease is there. Some people don't know, you think it's witchcraft or some other thing, but it's there and it kills from young. I've seen very many people, old and young. People should know. My wish I was an ambassador for kidney disease. I would just tell everyone about it and how it can kill you when you're not careful and when you don't seek medication.
One lesson for me and you. Let's make it a habit to go and make those regular health tests, because you can never know which organ has a problem.
A very emotional story right there of Anita Twanjiri, who was talking to CTV's Beatrice Nyangoma. And the story of Anita is a story that can affect almost 3 out of every 10 Ugandans that you can find, because there are research findings that show us that 3 out of every 10 people are at risk of kidney disease. And we'll be delving deeper into that and what that means. To discuss this further, I am joined by Dr. Peace Bagasha, who is a top nephrologist from Mulago National Referral Hospital. We also have Sandra Luyima Mukasa, who is a sociologist currently working with Uganda Kidney Foundation, and Kenneth Mwehonge from the Coalition for Health Promotion and Social Development, better known as HEPS Uganda. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Well, you've just had Anita's story, and she raised so many issues. But to start with, there's something that she said that triggered me on how the doctor saw her and immediately could tell that her kidneys had a problem. And I think she mentioned symptoms like her body being swollen, having a rash. And you mentioned something earlier about kidney disease being a silent killer, because it goes on, and by the time the symptoms manifest, it's already too late. So how can someone tell, or maybe if we should start with, what is kidney disease?
So kidney disease is essentially, to put it simply, disease of the kidneys.
Yeah.
Everybody has two kidneys. And the kidneys do a lot of work in the body. Most of the work that they do is filtering, removing all the waste products and then excreting the waste products through the urine. So every time you pass urine, you're passing out all the waste products that your body produces during its normal functioning of the the body. So kidney disease is when your body is not able to do the things that it's supposed to do because it is impaired by disease, and the disease are varied. That's
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
what sort of conditions or diseases make our kidneys fail? How resilient is the kidney when you throw so many things at it? At what point does it say, okay, at this point, you've done too much, I can't filter anymore?
So the kidney is very resilient, yeah, and that's why you have the two, because they help you when one is not working. And the diseases that commonly affect the kidneys are things like diabetes, high blood pressure, those are the commonest. But also other things like HIV, or the medication that you take when you treat HIV, or even malaria, or even diarrhea, episodes of diarrhea and vomiting. All of those can affect the kidneys. And then also medications, all the medications that you take, the different varieties of medications, because those also have to be removed by the kidneys. So many of the medications that you take, especially things that you buy over the counter like diclofenac or aceclofenac, all of those can affect your kidneys.
Right. And I think that would explain why when you take even simple antibiotics, after a short while, the urine that you pass starts smelling of antibiotics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you're taking those, at what point, because you've mentioned the kidney is very resilient, but then at what point do they then affect the kidneys to put them in a state of failure?
So usually they'll affect the kidneys when, usually the kidneys are quite resilient. They can handle most of these things. The kidneys begin to get affected if you're exposed repeatedly to these medications, drugs and medications, or if you're exposed to really big doses that your body becomes unable to act on, or if the kidney has an underlying problem, like if you're diabetic already and you have some underlying deficiency in your kidney, and then you expose yourself to some of these drugs, then you will have an effect on the kidneys. One of the early signs that you would get is reduced urine output, because we said the kidney makes urine. So if your urine output becomes smaller, most people don't know how much urine they make. If I asked you how much urine you make, you'd be like, I pass urine, no more amounts of urine.
Yeah.
But if you see that your urine is a little bit lower than the usual, then you begin to think that, okay, maybe there's something wrong with my kidneys.
Is there something about frequency, maybe how frequently you should be going to ease yourself to know that something is wrong with the kidneys?
Yes, if you're passing urine much more frequently than usual, usually your bladder can handle and store urine for a long period of time. But if you have, say, for example, urinary tract infections, you find that you're passing urine all the time, so the frequency does increase a little bit.
Right. There are people who have short bladders and maybe they pass urine more often than the others. When you say a long time, is it like an hour, 2, 3? How long is long and how short is short?
Well, that's very variable depending on a person, varies from person to person. I think the easiest thing to see is, first of all, if you have things like when you're passing urine, do you feel pain? You should not feel pain when you're passing urine. Also, how is your urine very smelly? Does it smell much more than the usual times? And maybe there's a problem there. But also, what's the color of your urine? So we like urine to be the color of water, because that means that you're well hydrated, you're passing urine which is very dilute. That's a good thing. But if you find that your urine is a different color, it's yellow. Yellow means that it's a bit concentrated. If it's deep yellow, it means it's very concentrated. If it's not yellow and it's red or black, that's a bad sign and you should run to the doctor immediately.
Right. I'd now like to take it to Sandra, who works with the Uganda Kidney Foundation. You advocate so much, partly for awareness, but to see that there's enough treatment. In the past years, there are suggestions that the number of people who are contracting kidney disease is increasing. I don't know about the research that is being done by your foundation. Do you find that to be the case?
Well, I don't think I'm in a position to talk about that authoritatively.
Yeah.
The research, there is one that was done by our president, Dr. Robert Kalyesubula, but that is about 5 years back.
And so much has changed since
So
then.
much has changed.
Yeah. Okay. And I believe in that research you talked about 3 out of every 10 people being at risk of kidney disease. But one of the things that you've been doing is to ensure that there's more conversation about understanding, and also more advocacy, and also more money which is being invested towards helping people who are suffering with kidney disease right now. You have seen what's the reception that you're seeing across the board right now?
Thank you so much. The reception, it is a very, very good reception. I can see that it is a journey, and we are walking not a very successful journey, but a successful journey. Because I can talk about, for instance, the World Kidney Day.
Yeah.
World Kidney Day, it is a global awareness campaign,
Right.
when globally we commemorate the World Kidney Day. And as a country, Uganda, we identify with the rest of the world to commemorate this great day. So over the years, we've commemorated this day. I remember 2010, we did it in the parliament. The Speaker of the Parliament gave us space to do the World Kidney Day in Parliament, and we were able to have the members of the public go to the Parliament to do kidney screening, and also the parliamentarians. So the reception was very good, because subsequently after the screening, we did the conference, the World Kidney Day conference. The parliamentarians also attended, and we had also the speaker attend as chief guest.
Right.
And we had even stakeholders from other dimensions, including health, because I remember even the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health attended, and we were able to present a paper as Kidney Foundation, where we had a lot of advocacy in terms of what we want, in terms of access to dialysis services, in terms of spread, just like we've seen Anita talk about difficulties in accessing dialysis. She could have stayed in Bushenyi, but she couldn't, because it wasn't possible for her to stay in Bushenyi, where it was difficult to have dialysis.
Right.
So we were able at least to have all these concerns shared with these key stakeholders who have the influence. And I can say that subsequently we've had at least success, because when we see Mulago talk of maybe a few years from now, or even a year from now, being in position to do kidney transplant, that is a result of the advocacy we do on these platforms like World Kidney Day. Because there are very many people who would wish to have kidney transplant, but they are not able, because there are explosive costs that are involved.
Right.
And that is because we are not able to do kidney transplant as a country. People have to travel to India and to the rest of the countries outside Uganda. So even this very year, we've done World Kidney Day. We decided to take it to Eastern Uganda, that is in Mbale. That is where we did it from. And why we had to do it from Mbale, at least for now, just like Anita shared, we have institutions, kidney health institutions do kidney health, but within Kampala here, we only have Mbarara Regional Referral Hospital outside Kampala. So why we did it in Mbale, at least so that we are able to have the attention of the key stakeholders, pick at least some message from us that it is high time we also gave a gift to the Eastern region. At least they should also have kidney health services.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. And I think over the years you've taken World Kidney Day to different regions precisely for that very reason.
Yes.
Okay. And if you're to see, you mentioned some of the things that were done. You mentioned having more equipment. What are some of the other things that you're advocating for every time that we have World Kidney Day, that you're checking the boxes to say, at least we've got this, we've got that, and now we're advocating for this as the years go by?
Oh, thank you so much. Maybe as looking at our checklist, for kidney health, the basket of kidney health, to see that a person like Anita and the rest of the patients are having good services in terms of care, because we are looking at, there's somebody who put it very well when we were at Mbale, talked of preventive, rehabilitative, and palliative. So those are three important components. So in the basket of care, we are looking at dialysis. Are the machines there? People who go to Chirudu, how many go to Chirudu? Are the machines enough? There is a long queue of patients who need dialysis. So that becomes part of the checklist in terms of the health institutions that do kidney health. So when patients go to the hospitals, are the machines there? The dialysis machines are there? Yes, the dialysis machines are there. How about the consumables? The consumables. Because if the dialysis machines are there, then and the consumables are there, then the cost will come down, or there will not even be any cost.
I had Anita talk about buying syringes when she has to go, and medication as well. The
medication. So the dialysis machine doesn't work in isolation. There are consumables that are needed. So how about the personnel? People like Dr. Bagasha. You know, we are blessed to have people like, we have doctors like Bagasha specialized in nephrology, because we have, I think, about 12.
Yeah, then I think one of the good things about this advocacy process is that the numbers of the healthcare workers is actually going up, mainly because every time we go to a different region, we talk to healthcare workers, because we usually have a conference for healthcare workers, but we also have a screening for the public, so the public gets awareness and the healthcare workers get awareness. And like we said, kidneys is something that you have to actively think about. So if the healthcare workers are thinking about it, many of them get interested in kidney, specializing in kidney care, and then the numbers of the nephrologists have actually increased quite, we want it to increase more, but has increased in a good way. So like maybe 10 years ago, we had only 2 or 3 nephrologists, but now they've gone up to about 10 or 15, and we want them to be spread out. The only problem is that now they're only in Kampala and Mbara, but we'd like them to be in Mbale, which is why we took this campaign to Mbale. We want them to be in Mbara, we want them to be in Gulu, in everywhere, so that patients have early access to doctors and therefore early diagnosis.
Right. I'd like to bring in Kenneth on this one. Now, with all the advocacy that he's talking about, your organization is also looking at access to healthcare also being a human right.
Sure.
And I do not know, for all the other things that you've advocated for, where do you find that talk about or awareness about kidney disease, or even funding, because Kirudu Hospital has been calling for more funding. How are we doing as a country?
Thank you for that great question. And for the viewers and everyone here, I'm delighted that we're having such a conversation. And kidney disease is one of the underrepresented public health threats or crises that needs much more attention. We've heard from Doctor some of the causes of kidney failure, and we have a surge in non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension, which are among the leading diseases of kidney failure, but also talked of diseases like malaria. Uganda is one of the high burden countries for malaria, and that's really concerning. I think the story by Anita, I think, is a very touching story. Globally, we talk of universal health coverage, and basically protecting health consumers from catastrophic health expenditures. And kidney disease or treatment is one of those diseases where people experience catastrophic health expenditure. We see even in the public service, there is a cost attached to it, and 60,000, I think that's like a 5 days wage for the lowest public servant. So it's not cheap. And I think one of the scares that I got when growing up, one of the closest friends and age mate, I think, required a kidney transplant. I think we had to mobilize the whole town. I'm born in a very small town, to raise that money, have him go to India. But unfortunately, he later passed on. But the first time I had that cost, I think, to me, it was like a death penalty. It was unimaginable raising that money. And again, Anita mentions it, about 300 million to do a transplant. I think not many Ugandans can afford that. And so it's really concerning. And what's more concerning is access to these services, even locally. Having only 2 districts where this service is, I think that's very, very concerning. But also the prevention bit of it, I think the awareness, people knowing at least the clinical signs, but also I know we are not into a habit of doing these tests that the doctor talked about, even us who can afford, but it's lack of that awareness,
right.
Having the basic information. So all in all, I think it's an area that needs every stakeholder involved in it, but also prioritizing at least screening and referral. I had Anita who was transported here at a cost of $1 million in an ambulance. I think one of the things, given that we have low geographical coverage of this service, I think one of the things that we need to urgently address is the referral system and ensuring that it's affordable. Actually, it should be free for people to access this service.
Right, and we're going to go for a very short break, but when we return, we'll be talking about prevention, because I think you mentioned universal healthcare coverage. That's one of the key pillars of giving very good access to healthcare. So you're watching The Impact with me, Amelia Martha Nashtimbo, and we're talking about awareness and prevention of kidney disease. We'll be right back.
CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink. Now showing on CTV. Start your day fresh with TV unlike anything you've seen before. Wake up with Sunrise at Sea for your daily dose of freshly cut stories, trending online discussions, self-care, and constructive conversations. No topic is off limits. Watch Sunrise at Sea every weekday at 7 a.m. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. Love sports? We do too. We got you covered. The Sports Dish, your daily lunchtime sports show that serves the intrigue, breaks down the act, and gives you an in-depth analysis of the odds. Who's going up? Who's going down? Catch all the thrilling action right here on the Sports Dish with Clive Chazé. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. The big debate is back. Bigger, bolder, reloaded. Whether it is securing your future, holding fast to the people power, or the promise of a one Uganda, one thing is certain: the big debate is on.
So why don't you respect the memories of doctors for this?
We have already addressed the issue of increment.
How many people have ever been convicted?
Okay.
It's the way the politics plays in cabinet.
So now why are they asking for the statement?
Follow mainstream conversations on current affairs and leading policy debates in Uganda.
It is in our interest to handle arrested people very nicely.
Right here on The Big Debate.
Let me finalize. I was quiet. I was quiet.
It's a hard-hitting talk show on development issues in the political and social-economic arena. Discussions that inform policy and trigger high-level dialogue. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from that short break, and thank you for keeping it CTV. You're watching The Impact with me, Amelia Martha Nachtimba, and today we're raising awareness on kidney failure and prevention. Before we went on a short break, we had watched a very touching story of Anita Twanjire, who is a student, but unfortunately had to stop studies because her life was disrupted when she discovered that she had kidney failure, and she had to relocate from Bushenyi to come to Kampala just to be able to access services given the frequency of medication. And well, with that, I'd like to put a question to Dr. Bagasha, who has worked on her personally as well. How do you decide which person gets access to dialysis?
So the first thing that we need to see is to see what your kidney function is like. If your kidney function is really low, you're not able to remove any of the toxins that you should be removing, you're not making any urine at all, then definitely you need to have dialysis. And then we decide if it's going to be a short-term dialysis or a long-term dialysis. So most of our patients, because they've been sick for a very long time, end up with long-term dialysis, just like Anita, meaning that she's going to need dialysis for the rest of her life. Sometimes we get patients who come in, the easiest example is pregnant women who have had a complicated pregnancy before they were perfectly healthy. Sometimes they may need short-term dialysis, so maybe 2 or 3 weeks of dialysis, their kidneys recover, and then they get off of the dialysis. That is usually the good story. The bad story, though, is if you're going to need dialysis for the rest of your life, in which case we would really recommend for you to get a kidney transplant, because that usually gives you a better quality of life. So in Anita's case, she'd be able to go back to school, should be able to go back to Bushenyi and remain and do her work and, you know, probably get a job, and she would not be tied to Kampala like she is because of dialysis.
Right. You mentioned pregnant women. I understand right now, I think about 20 in every 50 pregnant women suffer from kidney disease. What is causing that?
So the biggest problem is usually complications surrounding the delivery. So they get very high blood pressures, and then they get sometimes complications called eclampsia and preeclampsia related to the delivery period, but also other complications like if they get infections, if a lady has an abortion and gets a really bad infection because of the abortion, or if she gets a lot of bleeding and she's not able to get enough blood, then the kidneys will suffer and she'll end up with renal failure.
Right. Are there chances of recurring kidney failure? Say if you got the same maybe in the previous pregnancy, how does a mother who is expectant navigate that to avoid having kidney disease in the next pregnancy?
Yes. So if you do get a complication with your kidneys in your first pregnancy, then the subsequent pregnancy, your risk is increased. So we usually encourage mothers to wait at least 2 years for the kidney function to recover properly. If they happen to have a pregnancy before that, or even if they do have a pregnancy anytime after that, they need to have a specialist OBS and GYN follow-up. So they will have more than the usual antenatal visits, maybe every month, every 2 weeks, check on their kidneys, check on their blood pressure, see how the baby is progressing, see how the mother is progressing, and then also plan for the delivery to make sure it's a safe delivery.
Right. So In Anita's case, she mentioned 2 cases, either dialysis, which she's undergoing, the other was a kidney transplant, which is quite expensive and should have to fly to India. What does it take to have a kidney transplant?
So kidney transplant in Uganda, first of all, the surgery itself cannot be done in the country. So you'd have to go outside the country to get the surgery done. So before you go to get the surgery done, someone has to donate a kidney to you, because kidney transplant means that someone donates to you a kidney. Most of the patients we are sending to India because it's a cheaper option, although patients can opt to go to other places. In case we've had patients who have gone to Germany or to the US, but those are fewer, and usually they have some kind of connection with those countries and someone is going to pay, or they can afford the bills. The bills are more expensive there. So the first thing that you need is to have a donor, and usually we encourage you to have someone who's related to you. So if you had a twin sister, identical twin sister, that would be the best, because your body would recognize that kidney as part of you, because you're related. If you're not related, the further the relation, the more likely your body is to reject, and therefore all that money will go for nothing, because you will lose the kidney within a very short time.
Would that also relate to certain blood types?
Yes. Yeah. So the best is your own blood type. So if you're blood group O, then a person who's blood group O would be the best donor for you. So the first thing we usually ask is, one, is the patient related to you? The second thing that we ask is, what is their blood group? And then the third thing that we ask is, do they have any illnesses or morbidities or anything that will increase their risk for getting kidney disease? Because we don't want to take a kidney from someone who is going to need it 2-3 years down the road, because they have a risk of getting kidney disease. So the screening process itself becomes quite expensive to make sure we get the right person for you. Once we get the right person for you, then you go to India, do the surgery, then you come back, but you have to take medicine to make sure your body does not reject that kidney. So there's also that cost that you have to think about.
How long does it take for your kidney to stabilize when you have a foreign kidney in your body?
As soon as you put in the new kidney, immediately you begin to make urine, immediately you begin to get better. It is a miracle.
Right.
It works perfectly.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. I'm taking it to Sandra right now. Before the break, you had mentioned about the advocacy that you're doing. In a perfect, ideal Uganda, how many dialysis machines would you want us to have, and how many nephrologists, given the statistics of our population right now?
Thank you. In an ideal Uganda, I think I can say that in the context that kidney disease spares nobody. Everybody is vulnerable to kidney disease.
Right.
Children, adults, people of all age brackets are vulnerable to kidney disease. So that justifies the fact that we need dialysis across the country, all over the country. So we need dialysis machines at all the regional referral hospitals. That is, at least that should be the starting point. At the regional referral hospitals, we should have dialysis machines. And we can talk of at least 10 dialysis machines at each regional referral hospital. Currently,
what's the cost of installing a dialysis machine? If maybe we have the figures.
Maybe Dr. Bagasha has, I don't know.
So it would cost about 500 million to have a setup of about maybe 5 machines, including the water treatment plant, and consumables for the first 6 months, to run the unit for the first 6 months.
Right.
About 500 million, which I think is possible for the government.
It's possible for the government. Yeah. Well, so she's still telling us what we need in the regional referral hospitals.
So in the regional referral hospitals, that is because even the advocacy we've done, say at Parliament, at least we've put it at that starting point. Let's have dialysis machines at the regional referral hospitals. And like I said, the dialysis machines do not operate in isolation. We need the nephrologists. And normally when I'm making a presentation, I pick it from the point that the risk factors to kidney disease are both behavioral and biological. So equally, the management of kidney disease requires a multidisciplinary approach. So we do not look at only dialysis machines. We do not look at only the nephrologists. We look at the entire set. The healthy service care providers. We have the nephrologists, we have the nurses. The nurses, we have very many nurses who have trained in nursing. But this is a specialty, the renal nurses, those who have specialized in renal, in kidney disease management. So we need many of them.
Right.
Because they are the people who touch base with the patients. The doctors, yes, they do, but you know, they are overwhelmed. There are few. But the nurses, we need quite many of them. We need the dialysis technicians because those machines are there. But even when a nephrologist is there or a nurse is there, you know, they do not have the technical know-how of managing the dialysis machine. So we need the technicians. We need the dietitians because kidney disease, like I've said, that it is caused by both biological and behavioral factors, you know. It is a disease of lifestyle. From the sociological perspective, I'm a sociologist, we say it is a disease of lifestyle.
Right.
You know, the way people eat. So we need the dietitians. And each patient, diet per patient, is individualized according to the risk factor.
And on that note, I think we should now talk about prevention before we even burden the healthcare system. And this goes to all of you. What are those things that I should start doing right now, or whoever is watching us should start doing right now to avoid kidney disease? Because like we mentioned, 3 out of every 10 are at risk. You don't know, you could be one of those 3. So how do you prevent if you're at risk? How do you reverse that so that you don't end up in a situation where you're going to need very expensive medication to treat kidney disease? And this is to all of you in closing.
So thank you. And as a public health specialist and health promotion specialist as well, I think one of the very, very basic is exercising. But also our diet. Our diet has a lot to do with these non-communicable diseases and how physical exercise, how much physical exercise we do. I think those are the basics of managing it and preventing it. But also the screening bit of it as well. We need to routinely do these tests at the lowest level of primary health care, but also we are now talking of differentiated service delivery models where we are finding people in their communities. And I think our community health work, and now these are the VHTs, I think they need to, as our foot soldiers, to be the lead in terms of creating this awareness, but also supporting with the basic checks, the baseline checks, tests at that level for us to really manage and prevent kidney disease.
Okay, and then Sandra, your parting words on how we can prevent?
How we can prevent? I think we have to pick it from the level of awareness, to make people aware. Because yes, we want to have people, you know, appreciate the preventive bit of it when they know what they are preventing. So we need to create the awareness programs to the public, but also to do what I think I can say mainstreaming. We need to mainstream the healthy practices, say even in the schools, just like they do the science classes, we can mainstream the health, you know, practices so that maybe at some point the science teachers, they can invite, say, people from institutions, maybe Mulago from Kidney Foundation, and you know, in this particular subject, the students are relating, you know, with the people who are handling this healthy, you know, condition. instead of just learning about it as something, fictitious, something imaginary, but, they are touching base with it. They are really relating with somebody who is relating with it. I mean, handling it, and they know it is real. So the mainstreaming, say, even at church level, the faith-based institutions, say in a church, in a Muslim, whatever, Islam, say that the prayers, they can invite somebody to talk about kidney health. They can invite somebody to talk about HIV. It becomes real. It becomes real than waiting for somebody to just go to hospital because there is a trigger and, already the problem is in the extreme stages. Well, thank you very much that you've had it. And I think, like you've mentioned, we don't want to be raising money like that, which scared Kenneth in his, as he was growing up. So that's the conversation that we've had. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but take care of your kidneys and make sure that you go for screening and live a healthy lifestyle. That's the message that I take away from the conversation that we've had today. You've been watching The Impact, and I'm Amelia Martha Nachtimbo. Goodbye.